Oh my God, you guys. Come in, sit down, and lock the door behind you, because what just happened to Rick Ross is not a loss. It is a public execution. A man opened his mouth to clown 50 Cent over a pair of sneakers, and within days those exact same sneakers turned around and detonated what was left of his credibility. Sold out. Everywhere. In minutes. And baby, here's the part that should keep every rapper in the industry awake at night. Rick Ross did not just get proven wrong. He got proven wrong by a shoe that is old enough to legally drink. A shoe from 2003. A shoe he laughed at on camera. A shoe he personally escorted to the bargain bin with his own mouth. So what am I talking about? I am talking about 50 Cent quietly bringing back the G-Unit G6S with Reebok, Rick Ross betting his entire reputation that nobody on this planet would buy them, and the culture delivering one of the most humiliating verdicts we have ever witnessed in hip-hop history. Because when the dust settled, the only thing left sitting on the shelf was Rick Ross's dignity. And the craziest part? The most dangerous move 50 Cent made this entire week was not the sneaker at all. It was what the sneaker was quietly proving, and by the end of this video you are going to see the chess move hiding underneath the checker game. Pull up a chair, because this mess has layers, and the last layer is the one nobody is talking about. Now let me set the table for the people in the back, because context is everything in a story like this. A few weeks ago, Reebok announced they were bringing back the G6, the G-Unit sneaker that originally dropped in 2003 and disappeared off shelves 3 years later in 2006. And let me tell you what that shoe means, because some of y'all are too young to remember. In 2003, 50 Cent was not a rapper. He was a weather system. Get Rich or Die Tryin' had just rearranged the entire music business, G-Unit was running the streets, and that sneaker was everywhere. Malls. Videos. School hallways. It was not footwear, it was a uniform. So when Reebok announced the comeback, and when I tell you the internet laughed, honey, the internet laughed. The jokes wrote themselves. Who is wearing these in 2026? Who asked for this? People treated the announcement like a reunion tour for a boy band nobody remembers. Blog pages made memes. Comment sections turned into comedy clubs. But out of all the voices clowning 50 Cent that week, one voice was louder than everybody else combined. One voice decided this was not just a joke. This was a sermon. And that voice belonged to Rick Ross. Because Rick Ross did not just giggle and keep it moving. Rick Ross got on camera and delivered what he clearly believed was a eulogy. He got on his story and started lecturing about first week numbers, 22,000 the first week, 20 the second, preaching about drastic fall-offs and inflated stats. He declared, and I need you to hear the confidence in this, that the new flex is no bots. Keep it genuine. Keep it pure. Let the music fight the battles. And then, Rick Ross looked directly into the camera and told the world those G-Unit sneakers were going to end up in Costco. Costco, baby. Next to the rotisserie chickens and the bulk paper towels. And he did not stop there. He went product by product, like a professor giving a failing grade to an entire business empire. If your numbers are real, why can't the sneakers sell? Why can't the liquor sell? Why does everything outside of music fail? If you genuinely have a gazillion fans, why is nothing else you touch successful? He even found time to say he liked the Lloyd Banks version better and demanded 50 Cent give Lloyd Banks his own high top. The audacity was cinematic. This man built an entire comedy special around the idea that 50 Cent could not sell a 23-year-old sneaker. And the blogs ate it up because on paper it sounded reasonable. A sneaker from the Bush administration. A fanbase everybody assumes has moved on. A rival with a microphone and a grudge. On paper, Rick Ross was cooking. On paper. And I need you to sit with what Rick Ross actually did in that moment, because this is where the whole story turns. He did not just make a joke. He made a prediction. He put his credibility, his branding genius persona, the whole biggest boss mythology, on the table like poker chips and pushed them all in. And here is the thing about predictions in the age of the internet. The internet never forgets. The internet keeps receipts in a fireproof safe, and the internet was standing there with a screen recording the entire time. Because what Rick Ross failed to calculate, what he has failed to calculate for going on 2 decades now, is that 50 Cent is not a rapper who sells products. 50 Cent is a product that occasionally raps. This is the man who turned a flavored water investment into a 9-figure exit while the rest of the industry was still begging for tour sponsors. This is the man whose fan base does not just stream, they mobilize. And more important than all of that, Rick Ross handed 50 Cent the one thing money cannot buy: free promotion. Every clip of Rick Ross laughing at those sneakers was a commercial for those sneakers. Every Costco joke was a push notification reminding the culture that the drop was coming. Every sermon about bots and inflated numbers just raised the stakes so that when the result came in, it would echo 10 times louder. Marketing departments pay millions for that kind of anticipation. Rick Ross did it for free, out of spite, and he did it with a smile on his face. Rick Ross thought he was burying the rollout. Baby, he was the rollout. So fast forward to release day. And I want you to picture this, because the scene matters. The sneakers go live, and within minutes, the G6S are gone. Sold out. The demand was so heavy that grown men were sitting on the Reebok site at sunrise refreshing the page like it was playoff tickets. Carts were crashing. Sizes were vanishing mid-checkout. People were getting all the way to the payment screen just to watch the shoe disappear out of the bag. I personally know people who tried to cop that morning and could not even get through checkout. The shoes Rick Ross said belonged in a warehouse club were moving like merch at a farewell tour. And just like that, in less time than it takes to fry an egg, the prediction collapsed in public, in real time, with the whole timeline watching. And the timeline was merciless. Within the hour, the Costco clips were being reposted with brand new captions. Within 2 hours, the resale listings were live at double the retail price. A shoe that was supposed to be a punchline turned into a profit margin. Do you understand how bad that is? Rick Ross did not just miss the call. He missed it so loudly that the miss itself became the headline. Now here is where 50 Cent shows you why he is the most dangerous troll this culture has ever produced. Because 50 Cent did not write a paragraph. He did not drop a diss record. He did not even raise his voice. 50 Cent simply posted the footage of the sellout, fans celebrating, shelves emptied, receipts circulating, and he attached one sentence. 1. Why is the CEO so quiet right now? That is it. That is the entire statement. And I need you to understand the violence of that sentence, because it does two things at once. It announces the victory without ever saying the word victory, and it summons Rick Ross to the front of the class to explain himself in front of everybody. That is not a question. That is a subpoena. And notice who he aimed it at. Not Rick Ross the rapper. The CEO. The boss. The exact identity Rick Ross built his whole career on. 50 Cent did not attack the man. He attacked the mythology. And this, right here, is the blueprint for how you dismantle an opponent in 2026. You do not argue with them. You outperform their narrative, and then you let the scoreboard talk. If I am Rick Ross, I am deleting the app, hiring a crisis manager, and entering a monastery, because this might genuinely be the worst month of his entire career. Think about the sequence. Your album comes out and underperforms. Then, while you are still licking those wounds, your arch-rival's 23-year-old sneakers, the exact sneakers you mocked on camera, sell out in minutes. That is not bad luck. That is karma with a stopwatch. But wait. Because if you know anything about Rick Ross, you know this man does not accept defeat. He rebrands it. And what he did next was so shameless, so acrobatic, that I had to watch it twice to make sure I was not hallucinating. Rick Ross got back on camera and called the whole sellout fake. He looked into that lens and demanded to know why 50 Cent was lying to the people about selling all those shoes. Stop lying, he said. He dragged up an old bankruptcy filing from the last time the sneakers were around. He swore nobody is reselling them, nobody is buying them, and then he dismissed them as ugly shoes that nobody wants, that nobody ever wanted, that we all know are sitting in a warehouse collecting dust. And honey, the confidence. The unshakable, evidence-free confidence. The shoes are gone. The screenshots are everywhere. The resale listings are already live, and Rick Ross is standing in front of the world insisting the sky is green. Do y'all understand what it takes to watch a product vanish off shelves and then declare on camera that nobody bought it? That is not confidence anymore. That is a man building a house inside his own denial and hanging curtains. And the saddest part is that he knows the culture can see the receipts. He is not talking to the timeline anymore. He is talking to himself, trying to convince the mirror. And because one embarrassment is never enough for this man, he decided to detour into fashion criticism, claiming 50 Cent needs a stylist because of the outfit he wore the night he popped out at Verzuz. Which brings us to the single most delusional moment of this entire saga, and I need you to brace yourselves. Somebody in Rick Ross's comments pointed out that for a man who claims he was not watching, he sure had detailed opinions about the outfit. And Rick Ross, cornered, reached into the vault and pulled out a claim so wild it deserves its own documentary. He said, "Of course I was watching, I own equity in Verzuz." He suggested 50 Cent showing up was basically working for him. He told Curtis Jackson, "Thanks for your employment." He even promised to make sure 50 Cent has a bottle next time, like he was doing him a favor. Now, let us unpack that, because I almost swallowed my tongue. Your rival's sneaker just humiliated you in the marketplace. Your album is being clowned on every blog in the country, and your response is to claim you financially benefited from his television appearance years ago? That is not a comeback. That is a man clinging to a pool noodle in the middle of the ocean. And notice the pattern, because there is always a pattern with Rick Ross. When the numbers go against Rick Ross, the numbers are fake. When the sellout goes against Rick Ross, the sellout is fake. When he gets caught watching his rival, he was not a viewer, he was an investor. The scoreboard only counts when Rick Ross is winning, and that is exactly why moments like this hit so hard, because the culture has been keeping a list, and this week the list went viral. And let us not pretend this feud started yesterday, because the history is the seasoning on this whole meal. 50 Cent and Rick Ross have been at war since flip phones were cutting edge. This is the rivalry that gave us cartoon dices, leaked tapes, award show confrontations, and 2 decades of interviews where neither man can say the other's name without seasoning it. And through all of it, one thing has stayed consistent. 50 Cent wins the battles he chooses to fight in public, because 50 Cent never swings first without already knowing where the punch lands. Rick Ross swings because he feels something. 50 Cent swings because he calculated something. One man is fighting with emotion, the other is fighting with a spreadsheet. That difference, right there, is the entire story of this feud, and the sneaker sellout is just the latest chapter of a book Rick Ross keeps insisting he is winning. But let me tell you what this story is really about, because it is bigger than 2 men and a sneaker. What just happened is a masterclass in the economics of nostalgia, and the industry needs to take notes. Nostalgia is the most underestimated currency in entertainment. People will spend money on the things that made them feel something when they were young, and they will spend it without hesitation, without comparison shopping, without reading a single review. 50 Cent and G-Unit are not just a brand. They're a timestamp on people's lives. First cars. First house parties. First heartbreaks. The summer of 2003. When that generation saw the G6 coming back, they were not buying leather and rubber. They were buying a time machine. And that is why the industry keeps fumbling legacy acts. Just because an artist is not trending on your Explore page every 24 hours does not mean the fan base evaporated. Those fans grew up. They got jobs. They got mortgages. They got disposable income. And when the product touches the right memory, they show up with their cards out and no limit on the spending. Rick Ross looked at a sleeping giant and mistook it for a corpse. That is the miscalculation that ends careers. And before anybody tries to spin this as a fluke, let me take you back to the conversation from just last month, because it connects directly, and I have not forgotten it. People were debating whether 50 Cent could sell out Yankee Stadium 3 nights in a row the way Jay-Z just did. And some folks swore up and down that 50 Cent did not have the catalog or the fan base to fill a stadium in his own city. Now, I said at the time that I understood the international impact of Get Rich or Die Tryin', but I had my questions about 3 consecutive nights in the concrete jungle, the city that never sleeps, the toughest crowd in America. And who slid into the conversation himself? 50 Cent. The man personally pointed out that his last world tour ran 103 shows and finished as one of the top 3 grossing tours ever. Top 3. Ever. Not top 3 of the year. Not top 3 in his genre. Top 3 in the history of touring. So let this sneaker sellout be the final nail in that debate. 50 Cent has fans in every time zone who will spend real money on anything attached to his name, whether it is a stadium seat in the Bronx or a retro high top on a Tuesday morning. You do not have to like it. The receipts do not require your approval. Now listen, while we're on the subject of spending smart, let me put you on to something real quick. A few months ago, I realized I was paying way too much for car insurance, and every single year it just kept creeping up and I never knew why. Then I found a company called Smarter Auto, and it took me about 2 minutes on their site to see there were way cheaper options out there. That is exactly why I decided to partner with them. You answer a couple of basic questions, your car make and model, your zip code, and you instantly see a list of insurance companies with lower rates than what you are paying right now. And the best part is it is completely free to check. So if you are watching this and you feel like your insurance keeps climbing for no reason, this is your sign. Hit the link in the description, check your rate, and see how much you could be saving. Thank me later. Alright, back to the mess, because we have to talk about where this leaves Rick Ross, and I am going to be honest with you, it leaves him in the wilderness. Because this was never just about sneakers. This was about the one thing Rick Ross has spent 15 years building, the image of the untouchable mogul whose every word is prophecy, whose instincts never miss, whose brand is bulletproof. And 50 Cent just cracked that image in half with a product launch. No diss track. No interview. No scandal. Just supply and demand, delivered on a silver platter, in front of millions. And the most brutal part? 50 Cent barely had to participate. Rick Ross talked himself onto the ledge, and the culture simply pressed record. Every word of that Costco sermon is now a meme template. Every confident prediction is now a caption. That is the part nobody is saying out loud. The damage is not the sellout. The damage is that Rick Ross can never lecture about business again without somebody posting the G6 under it. And I keep thinking about the psychology of it because it says so much about how this man operates. 50 Cent has lived rent-free in this feud for years, and every few seasons the cycle repeats like clockwork. Rick Ross pokes. 50 Cent waits. Rick Ross overcommits. 50 Cent wins. It is the same movie with a new wardrobe, and somehow Rick Ross keeps buying a ticket to his own humiliation. At some point you have to ask whether this is rivalry or ritual. Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, and baby, the results are in, and they're sold out in your size. And do not think the fans did not notice the silence that followed. For all that talking Rick Ross did before the drop, the energy after the sellout has been very different. The sermon stopped. The predictions stopped. The only thing moving is the resale market on a shoe he said nobody wanted. Make that make sense. Now here is that last layer I promised you, the one nobody is talking about, so lean in. This sneaker drop was never about sneakers for 50 Cent. Think about the timing. The whole culture just spent a month debating whether 50 Cent could still fill Yankee Stadium. Whether the fan base was real. Whether the demand was nostalgia or noise. And right on cue, 50 Cent did not argue. He did not post stats. He ran an experiment in public. He put a product in the marketplace and let the demand answer the stadium question for him. Because a sneaker sellout in minutes is not just a business win, it is a proof of concept. It is 50 Cent standing in front of every promoter, every sponsor, every doubter, saying the demand you questioned just showed up at sunrise and emptied the shelves. The G6 was a poll, and the people voted with their wallets. That is the chess move hiding under the checker game. While Rick Ross was playing for laughs, 50 Cent was collecting evidence, and now every conversation about that stadium, about the next tour, about the next product, starts with a sold-out receipt instead of a debate. He did not just win the week. He weaponized it. So where does this go from here? Because something tells me this is not over, not by a long shot. 50 Cent has the sneaker win, the tour numbers, the timeline, and the morale high ground, and if history tells us anything, he is not done dancing on this. The man keeps receipts laminated. Meanwhile, Rick Ross has two options. He can go quiet, regroup, and let the month pass like a bad dream, or he can keep talking and turn a bad week into a legacy wound that follows him into every interview for the next 5 years. And judging by that Verzuz equity monologue, I think we both know which road this man is choosing. And when he chooses it, you already know who is going to be waiting with a camera and a caption. But I want to hear from y'all, because the comment section is about to be a war zone. Were any of you actually able to cop the G6S before they sold out? And be honest with me, are they a nostalgia grail or are they genuinely ugly like Rick Ross said? Does this officially crown 50 Cent as the greatest troll hip-hop has ever seen? Or is Rick Ross right that the whole sellout was smoke and mirrors? And the real question, the one I need answered, is this the moment the boss persona finally cracks? Or does Rick Ross have one more reinvention left in him? Get in the comments and pick a side, because I will be down there arguing with you all night. Like this video if 50 Cent's petty inspires you, subscribe if you are not already family, and turn on the bell, because the way this story is moving, part 2 is already loading. And trust me, what is coming next in this feud makes the sneakers look like a warm-up. I will see y'all in the next one.